It is live, Prabhu. Please go.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Balaram Prabhu, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We have Balaram Prabhu this weekend in Portland. He's sharing some nectar of Bhagavad Gita. And yesterday, Prabhu shared a word from Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks about the qualities of a devotee or lessons from Bhagavatam through the prayers of Hanuman. And today, Prabhu is going to give some lecture about Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14, verse number 37. Before that, Prabhuji is currently serving as temple president of ISKCON San Diego. He's a dedicated preacher, author, and a disciple of His Holiness Giriraj Swami. He's currently undergoing training to accept sannyasa in near future, and he travels throughout the world and sharing the message of Bhakti Yoga. Let's welcome His Grace Balaram Prabhu to Portland and share some nectar about Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Gita. Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. All right, so we'll start with Canto 1, Chapter 14, The Disappearance of Lord Krishna, text 37. Yadpada shushu shanam. Yadpada shushu shanam. All right, Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yadpada Shushushayana Mukhakarma. Yadpada Shushushana Muk. Does anyone know this meter?
Yatpada Shushrushana Mukhya Karmana.
Yeah, okay. Yadpada Shushana Mukha Karmana Satyadayo Dvasta Sahasra Yoshitaha Nirjitya Sankhe Tridashangstad Ashisho Haranti Vajrayuda Vallabhojitaha. All right. So yet whose pada feet, shushushana, administration of comforts, mukhya, the most important, karmana, by the acts of satya adayaha, queens headed by Satyabhama, ashta, twice 8, sahasra, 1,000, yoshitaha, the fair sex, nirjitya, by subduing, Sankhya, in the battle, the shan of the denizens of heaven, tat ashishaha, what is enjoyed by the demigods, haranti, do take away, Vajra ayuda vallabha, the wives of the personality who controls the thunderbolt, uchtaha, deserving. Translation: simply by administering comforts at the lotus feet of the Lord, which is the most important of all services, the queens at Dwarka, headed by Satyabhama, induced the Lord to conquer the demigods. Thus, the queens enjoy things which are prerogatives of the wives of the controller of the thunderbolts. Purport: Satyabhama, one of the principal queens of Lord Sri Krishna at Dwarka. After killing Narakasura, Lord Krishna visited the palace of Narakasura, accompanied by Satyabhama. He went to Indraloka also with Satyabhama, and she was received by Shachi Devi, who introduced her to the mother of the demigods, Aditi. Aditi was very much pleased with Satyabhama, and she blessed her with the benediction of permanent youth as long as Lord Krishna remained on the earth. Aditi also took her with her to show her the special prerogatives of the demigods and the heavenly planets. When Satyabhama saw the Parijata flower, She desired to have it uh, in her palace at Dwarka. After that, she came back to Dwarka along with her husband and expressed her willingness to have the Parijata flower at her palace. Satyabhama's palace was especially bedecked with valuable jewels, and even in the hottest season of summer, the inside of the palace remained cool, as if air conditioned. She decorated her palace with various flags, heralding the news of her great husband's presence there. Once, along with her husband, she met Draupadi, and she was anxious to be instructed by Draupadi in the ways and means of pleasing her husband. Draupadi was expert in this affair because she kept 5 husbands, the Pandavas, and all were very much pleased with her. On receipt of Draupadi's instructions, she was very much pleased and offered her good wishes and returned to Dwarka. She was the daughter of Satyajit. After the departure of Lord Krishna, when Arjuna visited Dwarka, all the queens, including Satyabhama and Rukmini, lamented for the Lord with great feeling. At the last stage of her life, she left for the forest to undergo severe penance. Satyabhama instigated her husband to get the Parijata flower from the heavenly planets, and the Lord got it even by force from the demigods. As a common husband secures things to please his wife. As already explained, the Lord had very little to do with so many wives to carry out their orders like an ordinary man. But because the queens accepted the high quality of devotional service, namely administering the Lord all comforts, the Lord played the part of a faithful and complete husband. No earthly creature can expect to have things from the heavenly kingdom, especially the Parijata flowers, which are simply to be used by the demigods. But due to their becoming the Lord's faithful wives, all of them enjoyed the special prerogatives of the great wives of the denizens of heaven. In other words, since the Lord is the proprietor of everything within his creation, it is not very astonishing for the queens of Dwarka to have any rare thing from any part of the universe. Om Jnanatipanandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanaditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kalidavachalam Pangam Langai Tegrim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Niditarinam Panchal Kalpadubhishcha Kripasandubriyavacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So just for some context, I will read some verses beginning with verse 7 of this chapter, and I'll read onwards. Just to give us some context. It is interesting that the Bhagavatam starts with the disappearance of Lord Krishna. Because after all, this is the first canto. This is the beginning of the Bhagavatam. There's still 11 more cantos to go. But the whole history of the Bhagavatam is starting with the disappearance of Lord Krishna. It's pretty interesting. So to start a drama or a major work with the disappearance of the main character, Krishna, or it's not the character, but the main personality, Krishna, is very interesting. But that's how the Bhagavatam starts. So just for some context, I'll start reading from text 7 of this chapter. Let's see here. Actually, I'll read from 6. Maharaj Yudhisthira said to his younger brother Bhimasena, I sent Arjuna to Dwarka to meet his friends and to learn from the personality of Godhead, Krishna, of his program of work. Since he departed, 7 months have passed, yet he has not returned. I do not know factually how things are going there. Is he going to quit his earthly pastimes, as Devarshan already indicated? Has that time already arrived? From him only, Krishna, all our kingly opulence, good wives, lives, progeny, control over our subjects, victory over our enemies, and future accommodations in higher planets have become possible. All this is due to his causeless mercy upon us. Just see, O man with a tiger strength, how many miseries due to celestial influences, earthly reactions, and bodily pains, all very dangerous in themselves, are foreboding danger in the near future by deluding our intelligence. The left side of my body, my thighs, arms, and eyes are all quivering again and again. I am having heart palpitations due to fear. All this indicates undesirable happenings. Just see, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me fearlessly. O Bhimasena, tiger amongst men, now useful animals like cows are passing me on my left side, and lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me. Just see, the pigeon is like a messenger of death. The shrieks of the owls and the rival crows make my heart tremble. It appears that they want to make a void of the whole universe. Just see how the smoke encircles the sky. It appears that the earth and mountains are throbbing. Just hear the cloudless thunder and see the bolts from the blue. The wind blows violently, blasting dust everywhere and creating darkness. Clouds are raining everywhere with bloody disasters. So these are all bad omens. The rays of the sun are declining, and the stars appear to be fighting amongst themselves. Confused living entities appear to be ablaze and weeping. Rivers, tributaries, ponds, reservoirs, and the mind are all perturbed. Butter no longer ignites fire. What is this extraordinary time? What is going to happen? The calves do not suck the teats of the cows, nor do the cows give milk. They are standing, crying, tears in their eyes, and the bulls take no pleasure in pasturing the grounds. The deities seem to be crying in the temple, lamenting and perspiring. They seem about to leave. All the cities, villages, towns, gardens, mines, and hermitages are now devoid of beauty and bereft of all happiness. I do not know what sort of calamities are now awaiting us. I think that all these earthly disturbances indicate some greater loss to the good fortune of the world. The world was fortunate to have been marked with the footprints of the lotus feet of the Lord. These signs indicate that this will no longer be. O Brahman Shonaka, while Mars Yudhishthira, observing the inauspicious signs on the earth at that time, was thus thinking to himself, Arjuna came back from the city of the Yadus, Dwarka. When he bowed down at his feet, the king saw that his dejection was unprecedented. His head was down, and tears glided from his lotus eyes. Seeing Arjuna pale due to heartfelt anxieties, the king, remembering the indications of the great sage, of the sage Narada, questioned him in the midst of friends. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, My dear brother, please tell me whether our friends and relatives such as Madhu, Bhoja, Dasharha, Arha, Satvata, Andaka, and the members of the Yada family are all passing their days in happiness. So there's all of these terrible omens happening that Yudhishthira Maharaj is seeing. Very terrified omens. And then he is thinking that maybe Krishna is about to leave, or maybe he's left. And at that particular point, Arjuna comes back and he's very dejected. He's crying. So then Maharaj Yudhishthira, he starts to ask him, how are these different personalities? Akrura, Jayanta, Gada, Sharnash, Shatrujit, are they all happy? He's asking. How is Balaram the personality of Godhead and the protector of devotees? So he's asking, and he keeps on asking about different personalities. He's asking, and then he asks in text 34, is Lord Krishna the supreme personality of Godhead who gives pleasure to the cows, the senses, and the Brahmins, who is very affectionate towards his devotees, enjoying the pious assembly at Dwarka, surrounded by friends? So then he asks about Krishna. Is Krishna enjoying with his friends? And then in 35, the original personality of Godhead, the enjoyer, and Balaram, the primeval Lord Ananta, are staying in the ocean of the Yadu dynasty for the welfare, protection, and general progress of the entire universe. And the members of the Yadu dynasty, being protected by the arms of the Lord, are enjoying life like the residents of the spiritual sky. So then there's some description about what's going on there in Dwarka. And then today's verse, simply by administering comforts at the lotus feet of the Lord, which is the most important of all services, the queens at Dwarka, headed by Satyabhama, induced the Lord to conquer the demigods. The queens enjoy things which are prerogatives of the wives of the controller of thunderbolts. So there's more description of Krishna and the queens. So one particular point, Narakasura, he had so many queens, thousands of queens. And Krishna, he came to deliver all of these queens. And because these queens they stayed at another man's home, in traditional Vedic culture, if a woman was to do that, then no one would marry her. So they're all young girls, and from that perspective, their life was ruined, because also in traditional Vedic civilization, it was very important for women to be married, and also very important for women to be married. So their lives were ruined in a sense, but Krishna, he killed Narakasura, and he delivered all of these queens. He freed them from their enslavement from this king and this demon. And not only that, but he married all of them. So we could see that devotion outweighs material qualifications. So in other words, they were not qualified materially, but because they were pure devotees, Krishna married them. It's Krishna's mercy, as we were discussing last night also, or as Hanuman was praying. He was saying, we have taken a low birth, we're not very beautiful, we're not educated, but still Ramchandra has become, he's accepted us as friends. So that's the idea. Now, if you look further, going into this chapter, it's interesting that many of the questions that Yudhishthira Maharaj, he has many questions. He keeps on asking him questions. Has someone addressed you with unfriendly words or threatened you? Could you not give charity to one who has asked, or could you not keep your promise to someone? You are always a protector of the deserving living beings, such as Brahmins, cows, women, and the diseased. Could you not give them protection when they approached you for shelter? Have you not taken care of old men and boys who deserve to dine with you? Have you left them and taken your meals alone? Have you committed some unpardonable mistake which is considered to be abominable? So Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking questions. Has someone offended you? Has someone disrespected you, and therefore you're unhappy? But many of the questions Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking is, have you failed in your duty? So the one of the main mistakes of modern civilization. People are writing books about happiness and giving seminars, and people are wondering, why aren't I happy, and so on. But a lot of the times, I don't want to say all of the time, but a lot of the times people fail to realize that their lack of happiness is due to themselves not doing something that they should do. Um, like one of the things being mentioned here about Arjuna, uh, have you not, uh, for example, one is expected to give charity. So if one doesn't give charity, that could be a reason they're not happy, or one has committed some mistake. Okay, they're not happy. So if somebody fails in their duties, and there's duties of the brahmachari ashram, there's duties of the householder ashram, of the vanaprastha ashram, or the sannyasa ashram. There's a whole long list of duties that we all have. So if we try to understand and know what are those duties, and we follow them to the best of our ability, then this will be the cause of our happiness. And if we fail, or if we just don't know, or if we don't try, or if we give up, then this will be the cause of our unhappiness. So we should remember that Krishna has given us a very clear guide to happiness, which is, by nature, we want to be happy. The jiva wants to be happy. The jiva is a pleasure-seeking being. So in a sense, and yeah, it's okay to want to be happy. That's our nature. But we should remember that happiness largely is based on our knowing and our trying to follow the duties of whatever particular status of life we're in. Now, in 44, Yudhishthira Maharaj, after asking so many questions, how is everyone, in the beginning of the chapter, because he's thinking, well, maybe someone's not doing well, and therefore you are sad, Arjuna. So he asked about so many different personalities, and then he's asked, has someone mistreated you, etc. And then he asked, have you failed to do particular duties, and so on. And then he gets to the point which he asks, or is it that you are feeling empty for all time because you might have lost your most intimate friend, Lord Krishna? Oh, my brother Arjun, I can think of no other reason for you becoming so dejected. So finally he got to the point that um, have you lost your friend Krishna? So, and as it will become clear in the next chapter, that's exactly what happened. Krishna, he disappeared, and therefore Lord Krishna, and therefore Arjuna was completely dejected. So, and when Arjuna was returning to meet with Yudhishthira Maharaj and give him the report, he was actually defeated by these cowherders. I think you have to mute Narottam Vilas. Narottam? Okay, there you go. Yeah, so when Krishna was, or when Arjuna was returning to report to Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was actually defeated by cowherds, and some of the queens were captured. And and practically speaking, you could say that he felt that his power was lost, and it was practically lost due to the disappearance of Krishna. In other words, what he was the best of warriors. I mean, the whole battlefield of Kurukshetra was won due to Arjuna and a few others, but some simple cowherders defeated him, and therefore we learn from this that the power of whatever power we have actually comes from Krishna, and it's not our own power. And therefore, we should be humble about that. But it also comes up later that when Krishna came, or when Krishna left, Arjuna was feeling very dejected, but he found solace in the message of the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna spoke to him. He found great solace, great peace, spiritual, Krishna conscious peace, not ordinary peace. He found peace in hearing or remembering the Bhagavad Gita. So that is also a lesson for us that if we're feeling separation from Krishna, or if we're feeling separation from our spiritual master, sometimes, the spiritual master at one point leaves, then we could take shelter of his instructions. And this way we find solace. We find shelter. So these are some points. All right, does anybody have any question or comment? Anything you like to say? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, yeah, I mean, just trying to relate. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Shitoshna Sukhadukheshu Samasanga Vivarjitaha. And so there clearly the message is sadness or happiness probably should be, I mean, it's just in a state of mind. And if we accept whatever is dealt with us, that state of the mind can be happy. And here, yes, we seemingly are hinting at material happiness in today's class. Just trying to relate, Prabhuji. I mean, we do, yeah.
Well, you want to continue?
No, I think you got the question.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Simultaneously, we have verses in the Bhagavad Gita that say a self-realized person or a spiritually advanced person, they're not bothered by the material dualities of, for example, heat or cold or honor, dishonor, and so on. So yeah, that's there. But still, if as this chapter is describing, that if one has failed in their particular duties, then that is a cause of unhappiness. I mean, you have Arjuna. He heard the whole Bhagavad Gita, and then his sons died, and his sons were killed. And then he was lamenting. So Srila Prabhupada, he was asked about this, that Arjuna, he heard the whole Bhagavad Gita, but why is he lamenting? And Srila Prabhupada said that well, this is normal. I mean, if somebody you have affection for dies or is killed, then you lament. So he said this is normal. But the thing is that Arjuna, he didn't uh, like fall into deep, dark depression, and he never came out of it and never continued with his activities. But he lamented, but then he continued with his activities. So the idea is that the main idea is that we all have particular duties we need to perform, and if we know those duties and if we try to execute them to the best of our ability, then we will, even despite the dualities, even despite difficulties in life that we go through, we will still be able to have that inner happiness despite any dualities. It's like His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He came down with cancer, and he addressed the devotees in Gita Nagari. It was his last lecture, actually, and public lecture. And he was explaining to the devotees that he's very happy. Krishna has given him so much service in his life. He tried his best to serve Srila Prabhupada. And he was very happy. But then he said simultaneously on the other side, he was saying he could hardly, it's very painful. He's having a hard time sitting up, laying down, everything's very painful. And he started to describe some of the diseases some of the negative or the painful things that were happening in his body. So like two were going on simultaneously. So, but still he was happy. So those are some thoughts in relation to that. That yes, we should do our duty to the best of our ability, and even despite the dualities, we're able to be happy. But here we see that Arjuna, I mean, he was dejected for a very intense reason. That's because Krishna left. So I hope that helps to some degree.
It does, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Also relating to last night's lecture that you gave, Prabhuji, where Haridas Thakur, I mean, in Mahaprakash Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows Haridas Thakur all those lashes he took on his back.
Yeah.
So that was a different state of affairs where if you put two and two together, maybe Haridas Thakur was so intense in his devotion and not even caring for himself, and and praying for the tormentors. I mean, that's when the Lord takes up everything that's coming onto you on himself, and maybe maybe that's why he didn't feel the physical pain.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I mean, with Haridas Thakur, of course, Haridas Thakur's a very unique, special case, devotee. But still, like even I mean, you have a number of other devotees who have
Right. Yeah.
not exactly the same experience, but a similar experience. Like Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he was mentioning how in his particular case with his cancer, he should have been suffering a lot more than he was.
Right.
And you have a number of other devotees. You have Srila Prabhupada that was in 1977, his last days there in Vrindavan. And a doctor came to him, and Srila Prabhupada was asking the doctor, "Oh, how are you? Did you get some prasadam?" And he was still caring for seeing to the care of people. The doctor was very emotionally affected by that, and the doctor was saying that an ordinary man, he would be um, yelling or screaming in pain, and he'd be asking for medication, all of those things, pain reliever. But Srila Prabhupada, he wasn't affected like an ordinary person would be affected. So yeah, that principle can work with all devotees, really. So yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for
Hare
everything.
Krishna.
Especially in this verse, when we talk about queens of Dwarka, right, and Satyabhama expresses her material desire to have a parijata flower, right? And I mean, if we need to take an essence from this verse, how can we reconcile our worldly desires with devotion in our practice, especially?
Well, I mean, if we look at Satyabhama wanting a parijata flower, I mean, this is, this is Leela, this is pastimes. These are pastimes between Krishna and his queen. So yeah, it wasn't like an ordinary couple, like a materialistic couple who, the wife says, "Oh, I want this," and then the husband says, "Okay, yes, I'll get it for you." Like some kind of sense gratification affair or something like that, selfish affair. But it was just transcendental because because Krishna and his queen says that in the morning when Krishna was lying there in his bed with his queen, one of the queens, it says that the rooster would crow, or would not crow, what does it do? What does a rooster do? I'm forgetting the word. Anyways, they make a noise in the morning, and then that acts as like a natural alarm clock. So Krishna, he would get up and then he would attend the morning meditation. And it says that he would meditate on himself because he's a super soul. So he was setting a good example for future householders to rise early and to meditate on Krishna. But it says that the queens, hearing the rooster make the noise to wake Krishna up, it says that the queens were unhappy that Krishna was getting up and leaving them. So in this way, these are Leela's pastimes. Interesting also is that the queen, that Krishna, he would sometimes at night call out the different names of the devotees in Vrindavan. The queens were wondering, oh, who he's talking about. That's the principle with Jagannath. Jagannath, and I'm getting more to your question in just a minute, but Jagannath there's Gaur Govinda Swami explains from a particular scripture how the queens of Dwarka, they wanted to know about the glories of the residents of Vrindavan. So Rohini, she agreed to tell the queens of the glories of the residents of Vrindavan, but they told uh, they told someone to guard the door because they didn't want Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra to come in the assembly, because if they came in the assembly, then it might overwhelm them hearing about the glories of Vrindavan. So Rohini, she started glorifying the residents of Vrindavan, Mother Yashoda, and Nanda Maharaj, and Srimati Radharani, and so many different residents of Vrindavan. And then somehow or other, Balaram, Krishna, and Subhadra, they came in the door. And then they started hearing the glories of Vrindavan, and then they went into ecstasy. So their eyes got really big, and their smile became very big, and their hands actually like contracted into their bodies. So this is the form of Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra, the form of transcendental ecstasy and separation from the residents of Vrindavan. So Narada Muni, he appeared on the scene, and then he saw these wonderful forms of Krishna, manifestation of Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra, and he said, I pray that these forms of you are worshipped throughout the world. This is Jagannath worship, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. But when we relate this principle to our own lives, Krishna and Satyabhama's dealings, and her asking something from Krishna and so on. I mean, we have to be careful. Wives have to be careful asking their husbands for things. The husbands should just provide it without them asking, give them gifts and so on. That's Srila Prabhupada mentions that. He says that it's the business of the husband to supply their wife with bangles and jewelry and saris and so many different things, gifts. That's one of the duties Srila Prabhupada explains. But also the husbands have to be careful, they're not asking the wives for too many things as well. So in other words, there shouldn't be a lot of demanding from each other. That's there. We have to try to control those tendencies. But it also another thing if we relate this to us asking Krishna for things. Dhruva Maharaj, as we were briefly discussing last night, Dhruva Maharaj, he wanted a material thing from Krishna. It's not that Dhruva Maharaj wanted to live in a better place or a better neighborhood in Portland or in the greater outskirts of Portland. It's not that he wanted the newest and latest car or whatever it is. But actually, Dhruva Maharaj wanted everything. He's the original Sarva Kama. Sarva meaning all, and Kama desirous. He's all desirous of everything. He wanted the greater kingdom. So it was practically one of an example of someone with one of the most biggest material desires in history. But he became purified, and he became a great devotee, pure devotee of Krishna. So the goal is pure devotion, but in the meantime, we have to be careful that we don't ask Krishna for things. But if we do ask Krishna for things, that's also okay, in a sense that's described in the Bhagavatam, that akama, sarvakama, va moksha kama dadadi, Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So whether we're sarva kama, moksha kama, or akama, no desires, it's advised in the Bhagavatam that we should worship Krishna with intensity. So Krishna, he may fulfill our desire if it's good for us. If it's not good for us, then he won't fulfill it. But sometimes, if we are very determined, Krishna, in asking Krishna for material desires, and we should remember that desire is a subtle form of prayer. In other words, you could be praying, "Oh, Krishna, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that." But we should, and you say, "Well, I don't do that. I don't ask Krishna for stuff." But desire, wanting something as a devotee, that's a subtle form of prayer. In a sense, we're desiring it. So sometimes Krishna may give us something that he thinks is not good for us, but he gives it to us in such a way, fulfilling our material desire, in such a way is that we don't want it ever again. So that's also there. So, anyways, I know that was a bit of a long, drawn out answer, but I hope that helps to some degree.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Any last question or comment from anyone? What about Anita? Does she have something?
Hey, Krishna Prabhu, I was just reflecting on what you said. It made a lot of sense when you asked Krishna for something. The last point that you made. Yeah, the whole equation changes, right? You're asking Bhagavan himself. Yeah, just reflecting on that, Prabhu.
Okay, nice.
Thank you so much for the wonderful piece.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. All right. Okay, well, it doesn't seem like there's, thank you for your reflection. Anita. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there's anything else, so I guess we could just stop here.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. If we don't have any questions, thank you, Balaram Prabhu. Thanks for joining. Today afternoon, Prabhu is going to talk at temple at 11:30. Some more nectar from about Ramchandra, because next Sunday we're going to celebrate Sri Ram Navami. On the occasion of that, Prabhu is going to speak something about some Ram Kada at the temple. Please join if at all possible in person. If not, it'll be live on YouTube and Facebook. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Balaram Prabhu. Hare Krishna, devotee. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much. It is very great speech. We are very lucky to hear from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Balaram Prabhu ki jai.
Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'll end the call. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, one second.